My name's Chris Billett.
My name is Paul Anderson.
My name is Mark Boyd, and you listen to the Blue Army podcast.
Hello, my name is Derek Combs, and I listen to the Blue Army podcast.
What time did you get up?
1:30.
All right, okay, so it was a proper night out then.
Yeah, it was a bit unexpected. We went to this the Free Radicals thing because Loki's got some artwork in there.
Nice.
And that was like, they don't have a license, so it was a art exhibition launch. It wasn't like no alcohol, but then we went for a drink afterwards. So
that sounds good. Sounds good. What is that Free Radical
maybe
thing?
I'd
Just kind of like
Is
that Free Radical thing just like an open space for like artists and stuff, just to put there and try and sell crafts and different canvases and stuff like that for a couple of weeks? What's the deal with that place?
It's an LGBT run thing. It's temporary. They got someone gave them access to this like former shop on English Street for, I think it was like 3 months, so it's coming to an end now. But I know they had a craft fair in before Christmas, so it's specific things. It's not just open all the time and people wander in and do art stuff in it. They have had they've had arranged things.
All right, man. That sounds like a cool space. Definitely worth a little bit of a plug. But we got accused last week, and I think we accused ourselves last week a little bit of having a little bit of an indulging pre-ramble. So this week we'll dive into things. We'll get the all right manners out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
While you eat your salad, I'll do an intro. Oh. Yep. Alright, Maras, how's it going? And welcome back to the Blue Army podcast. This is episode 53, and I am joined by none other than everybody's favourite co-host. Wills is here. Hello, Wills.
Hey, Liam. On a bit of a streak at the moment. When was the last time I wasn't on?
That's true. I was thinking about that. I was thinking maybe I'm going to have to relieve him of his duties and give him a bit of a rest for a week or two. But to be fair, the hunger hasn't gone away. Normally you hint at me if you want a break. Is that the hint? That was the hint.
Do I? When have I ever hinted anything at you?
True. But yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see what we can drill up in the next coming weeks, mate, and we'll get you off for a couple of weeks. Oh, you can always geg in. We can have 2 guests. We'll see how that goes. If you're still interested, but yeah, we'll see how it goes, mate. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, yeah, just let us know what you plan to do.
That's it, man. That's it. Welcome to episode 53, mate. Mate, should I tell you what you've got to look forward to this episode?
Yeah, please.
Right, on today's episode, we have got ourselves a huge amount of transfer news to get ourselves through. Wills has gallantly taken the reins on a few of the new signings, and so have I on some of them. So we'll be going through our research on the new signings, discussing and probably taking the mick out of 1 or 2 of those transfer deadline day signings. We'll also be talking about Carlisle United's games against Sutton and against Salford. I'm assuming predominantly most of today's podcast is going to be transfer news because it's just a little bit more positive to talk about than those weekends' results. But we'll get there when we get there, mate. But first, we'll start off with tradition, as we always do here on the Blue Army podcast. Right at the start, we like to start with positive vibes and good times. So that means just one thing, mate. It is time for the Blue Army podcast joke of the week. Is he having a laugh? I think he's trying to. It's the Blue Army podcast. Joke of the week. Right, mate, here we go. It took me a while to find this one today, mate. It's just, you know what it's like. I'm back in the wilderness of looking for jokes again. Hopefully this is a good one, though. Here we go. Why did the M&M go to school?
Why did the M&M go to school? I don't know why. I'm really sorry. The internet gremlins have come along and whisked your punchline away.
Yeah, I thought they did. Bloody buggers. Right. Why do the M&M want to go to school?
Why did the M&M want to go to school?
Because it wanted to be a smarty. There we go. That makes me feel smug. Right, let's move on. Let's keep the good times rolling and crack on with our newest feature here on the Blue Army podcast. It's time for the birthdays. There's only a few this week. There's been obviously a lot going on the Be Just and Fear Not Carlisle United fan group page that you can find on Facebook in terms of transfer posts being made, lots of opinions about the football. So it's quite hard to find the birthdays this week, but the ones that stood out for me, firstly, happy birthday to 39-year-old Islington assassin, Jabbo.
Oh,
Jabbo. Go on, Will, tell us your Jabbo story again. Go on. We've got loads of new listeners now.
I was going to say the Jabbo story where I was walking down the street with a mate, a friend from that I knew from university in Liverpool, and we were walking back with pizza. And it was round about the time because when Jabbo was at Carlisle, he used to rent a flat just around the corner from me. So we were walking back with our pizzas, and I saw Jabbo coming the other way, and I'd seen Jabbo a few times. So I just went, "All right, Jabbo," and he's like, "All right," and then walked past, and then we walked past each other, and then like a few steps further on, I was just lads. I don't know if that's the one or if it's.
That's the story. I think the internet gremlins kind of ruined it again, though. These internet gremlins have ruined all of our good times. Happy 28th birthday to David Symington. I think I remember David as a bit of a dynamic midfielder, ended up getting released by Carlisle, went down to Workington, but has since found himself back in the Football League. Am I right in thinking that?
Is he in the Football League?
I thought he got himself back up. Maybe I'm wrong. Go on,
you have a good free kick on him. Yeah. He plays for Workington still.
I still at Workington, still banging in the goals for Workington. David Symington, happy 28th birthday. And like I said, mate, the birthdays were few and far between this week. I think I saw one more if I can get to it and ramble at the same time. Here it is. Happy 82nd birthday to Carlisle legend Hughie McElmoy, the man outside with the statue. Happy 82nd birthday to Hugh. They're the birthdays this week, mate. I quite enjoy doing the birthdays, you know. I think it's a nice little segment there. We'll kick the proceedings off with a light bit of injury news. On Friday, a scan revealed that Kelvin Mellor will not need surgery on his injury, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be recovering in any better time. He's still going to be out for a couple of weeks, and it's very non-cryptic. No one's given us a window for when he's going to be coming back. I feel like the last two games, Kelvin Mellor has been massively missed. Joel Senior has got a big pair of shoes that he's had to step into after playing a lot of non-league football in the last couple of recent months. So I think he's found it difficult to step into that position. And also, I think Kelvin Mellor's got a voice on the pitch that hasn't been replaced in that Carlisle United backline, and it's suffered across the last two games. Mate, I think we mentioned Mellor as being maybe the best signing of the summer so far. We're going to go on and talk about the signings of the January window. First of all, mate, we'll kick things off with a loan signing from Birmingham.
Yep.
21-year-old Mitchell Roberts. A young man who has been in and around this level, but if you to believe the write-ups, they don't necessarily reflect his stats. They say that he was on loan at Harrogate last season. He was on loan at Harrogate last season on a half-season loan. He only played 4 games, unfortunately. And then the manager seemed to drop him, and then he sort of disappeared without a trace. Now, that doesn't fill you with too much confidence. You're obviously hoping that a bit more time with the coaches at Birmingham has hopefully pushed his progression on a little bit more. And this time he's going to be ready for a League Two campaign. A centre-back, another one. So soon after we've just brought in a centre-back, Daniel Sineu hasn't exactly hit the ground running, hasn't exactly impressed the fans. Is this a reaction signing to that, mate?
I only saw Simeu against Sutton, and although we did lose 2-0, I don't think it was all that bad. And we've got Morgan Feeney as well, so I'm not sure that we're, necessarily going out and signing another defender because we're desperate for just someone else. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he just feels that we need a bit more cover.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the impression. There's probably a fair bit of money left in the bank when Zach Clough left, so we had the flexibility to probably bring in that extra person and not to let it suffer on the wage budget side of things. It's not exactly.
I mean,
it's not a signing anyone was expecting us to make.
Yeah, what were your thoughts about Simeu then? I've not really followed what other fans have said, so I was kind of surprised to hear that fans have been sort of immediately saying he needs to be dropped. Although I hear Feeney did all right when he came on against Salford, but when I saw him against Sutton, Simeu didn't look too bad.
I mean,
the team overall were bad.
He is at fault for both the goals.
Salford.
Sutton, and he did have part to blame for at least one of the Salford goals, I think. We'll get there. We'll get to that bit.
One was Mitcham,
yeah. So obviously we'll get more to that bit when we get over to the sort of match report side of things. But yeah, from what I've heard and what I've seen, he's really not filled many people with a lot of confidence. And I mean,
do you think Feeney needed dropping?
No, I really don't. See, that's part of the thing. I think the goals that were conceded by Carlisle that were kind of Simeu's fault were down to poor communication, maybe. At least one of them's down to communication. And, maybe thinking McDonald's the sort of defender that was rushing out and making the tackles, and Feeney was the sort of player that was maybe taking the loose balls and that kind of thing. Yeah. Now, obviously, the size of Simeu, McDonald might be thinking, now I'm the one who sits in the hole, and Simeu goes and takes the person down because he's the more imposing figure. Or I just don't know if the balance was there for them. I don't think that we would have conceded either of the goals against Sutton if McDonald and Feeney were both playing, because there would have been a clear communication about who was supposed to tackle the player, especially on the second goal. And on the first goal, I think Feeney's better in the air than that. And Simeu showed really bad technique with the header straight into the attacker. He had all the time in the world to send that back where it came from, nice, high and long. And for some reason, just 50 pence pieced it. And I've seen a few.
To be fair, Feeney was on the pitch by then.
But it's just,
I'm not sure how he played yesterday.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, when you bring in a new signing in that position up against these kind of teams, you're already thinking these have got the best, far and away, the best attackers, the best goal scorers in the league, which we've came up against Forest Green Rovers as well recently. So when you're upsetting the centre-back partnerships against really good opposition, you're just leaving yourself more vulnerable, I think. And it just wasn't the smartest of moves to have made, especially when Feeney's fit to play, McDonald's fit to play. The only position that should be your weak link is probably at right back with Senior, because he hasn't played a lot of football at this level. So there's where you might get worried about. But I mean, I don't know. Then what do? Do you play three across the back instead? And you put Simiyu to win everything in the air, McDonald and Feeney to take everything on the ground, and then push. Who do you push back into a right wing back position? Gibson.
Yeah.
Gibson's not shy. Gibson will make a tackle for you. Mellish will make a tackle for you in that position. I think that'll be fine as well. Armour's fine in a wing back position over on the other side, but then that's a completely different conversation about changing formations. Joe Riley would fit in that right wing back position really well, but like I'm saying, that's a different prospect. And to be honest, mate, it's only just popped into my head now, but it sounds like a better way to have gone against these better teams is to have played five along the back with the wing back options. And
seeing both injured now, so we'll see what. I mean, is Owen Windsor a centre back?
Owen Windsor?
Oh, is he the striker?
Yeah. Owen Windsor.
Sorry, who's the other defender that we brought in?
We're
not two of the players we brought in defenders. Simiyu.
No. Well, Simiyu wasn't transferred. Simiyu is obviously a defender, and then Mitchell.
Mitchell, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, Mitchell's who we're talking about. I was talking about Mitchell now, kind of thing, but we've gone on to Simiyu, obviously.
Yeah. I was just checking. Is he a centre back, Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm reading.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading. He can play. Apparently, he'll play on the left, but like he's a centre back that can maybe do your job on the left.
Mm.
But yeah, from what I'm seeing, he's a centre back.
See how Millen reacts.
You what? Sorry.
I was just see how Millen react. See how Millen reacts.
Yeah. I just don't think it's a position where we need an extra body. You've still got Whelan's not injured, or he wasn't injured. So the selection was all still there, and not necessarily needed in my opinion. But there you go. In my opinion, it might be an off-in signing. It's one of those gambles, I guess. And obviously Millen might have seen something in him that has impressed him, and there's a reason why he's going to be with us here at the club. So all the best to him, but it's not the sort of signing that you think you were going to really, really see brought in. And obviously, if the idea is that he's going to play more on the left side, then I mean, I don't want to see Jack Army drop. Do you? That's one of the most valuable assets the club's got.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't read much of him. He came in, and then other players came in after him, and he didn't really get much talked about. So,
I am kind of doing it in order as well.
Yeah.
I am kind of doing it in order on the day as people were brought in. So obviously a lad who started his sort of youth career with Birmingham has since only had the loan spell with Harrogate Town, where he's had a couple of games. He's been. He's not been to non-league. He hasn't really got that kind of background. So he's just a lad at the age that he is, 21, to have only played one game in the Cadbro Cup and 4 games last season on a half-season loan. He needs to get games under his belt. So, I mean, hopefully he's thinking, I need to make this work, and he's going to be applying himself, and we'll reap the benefits from a player that's going to be working a little bit of overtime. But mate, we'll go on to the next signing of the day, and that was one of the lads that you've decided to take on, Toby Show Silver. What have you learned about him?
Yeah, I've learned that his full name is Oluwatoye Akintunde Show Silver. He's 26, and he's more of a winger than a forward. So that seems to partially explain his sort of lack of goals across his career. If you look at his career, I don't think he's been brought in as the answer to scoring more goals, but obviously maybe Keith Millen sees something in him. Maybe he sees him somebody who's going to create the chances. So his career has been entirely in non-league, apart from one spell with Inverness Caledonian Thistle, where he only played 5 games. Other than that, he's been mostly in the Conference He did end up on loan at one point, as low down as the Isthmian Premier. Then came back with Halifax back into the National League, and then he was a key player in Sutton's title-winning team, but hasn't featured so much for them this year.
Right, okay. So this is a full-time signing as well. This isn't a loan deal.
Yeah, this is a full-time signing, and so he's scored in total over his career 30 goals in 192 apps. So he's not a goal scorer. When he was with Bromley in the National League, there was a season where he scored 11 goals. Generally, his goal scoring is pretty low. The other highest, he scored 4 goals last season for Sutton, and that was 35 starts. So BA plays on the wing. And my research hasn't picked up how many assists he's created. So I don't know, maybe he's a good assister.
Well,
will be show Silva.
So do you know if he can play on either side then?
I haven't found out. It's always difficult to find out what side the player plays on. I could just have a look at the transfer market page, because that sometimes gives you what footed he is. It suggests that he's right-footed, so...
Okay, because in my mind, obviously, I don't think Dickinson's been impressing very well in recent weeks, so I would have thought that they would be going for somebody to go into that attacking left position, maybe, to give a bit of competition there. But I guess it's a right-sided thing.
It doesn't say he's right-sided, it says he's right-footed, so you presume he's right-sided. It's possible that he's a right-footed, left-sided player. It's possible that he's been brought in to play up front, maybe off a main striker, maybe that's his preferred position.
It's an interesting one in a couple of different ways. When you sign somebody that's 26 years old, you're signing somebody that's closer to the prime of the career rather than somebody who's like an untested entity, or somebody that might be on the decline. So in that sense of things, it's quite nice to see Carlisle signing a player of around that age, because we don't necessarily have the ability to do that. To bring somebody in on an 18-month contract for an undisclosed fee, I mean, that's very cryptic. I can't imagine that being any more than about 35 grand. That seems to be the amount that Carlisle spends on players in these undisclosed fee situations.
It seems that Sutton haven't really used him this season. He's only had 7 appearances, scored 1 goal, and he did, of course, come off the bench against us just last week.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how and why he's ended up on our radar. Maybe it was the form that obviously brought Sutton into the league that has maybe been highlighted as a reason that he's going to be good enough to be with us. What I really hope, mate, what I really hope is that he's not one of those players that's going to be brought in case we go down. One of those players that could do a job for us next season in case we go down. I really hope it's not one of those kind of signings. I hope that the idea of bringing in all of these players is that they're going to add quality to those positions, not just depth in the squad, because I feel like at the end of January, you've not only waited the maximum amount of time to bring players in, but now they've got the least amount of time to make the impact that you need them to make. So they've got the least amount of time to settle in, the least amount of games to get used to playing, to get used to training, to settle in properly, and it affects players and it stops you from hitting the ground running. If you brought them in at the start of January, they could be hitting the ground running for you in the middle of February. You bring them in now, they might not be doing anything until April, and then it might be too little too late by April.
It's not always the manager's, it's not always the manager's choice, really. Kind of, I mean, Keith Miller's not the first manager to have said this during the transfer window, but you're often waiting until before you find out the player you want to sign is going to become available, and that could be the case with Show Silver. He could have been aware that Sutton were willing to let him go, but Sutton were maybe waiting to finish the transfer business of their own, and then made the decision with hours to go that that will let you go. And I think that's why that often happens, why you get like a flurry of signings on transfer deadline day. Doesn't necessarily mean that the club hasn't been chasing them for the whole window, but sometimes the club does start chasing them early. But it's not until hours before the deadline that they get the go-ahead that the player's going to be available.
Well, at the end of the day, it's an attacking option, and obviously we need some more attacking options. It's not a goal scorer, like you've said, and that's what people really wanted to see get brought in.
He's not got much league experience either.
And that's another factor.
He's not got any league experience.
Yes, no professional league experience to speak of.
Thing.
Yeah, I'll edit around it. Don't worry. But no proper league experience to really speak of, and that's one of the fair few attacking options that Carlisle United brought in through this transfer window. Somebody who is a bit more of a perhaps exciting prospect in terms of limitless potential is Owen Windsor. Owen Windsor has came on loan from the Baggies, West Brom Albion. He has played a fair few years with non-league outfit Cirencester Town. I can't really pronounce it properly. Cirencester Town. And he has been around this level before. He was a part of the Grimsby team that were relegated, unfortunately, but that does kind of at least let you know that he's been in and around the changing rooms of a team in this kind of position, so maybe he knows what to expect, and that's not too daunting for him, so he's happy to come in. 20 years of age, very young player, and I mean he wants to play it. From what I can see, mate, he's gone on loan a few times. He went back to Cirencester Town on loan, and then the next season he went to Tooting Town, then it was Grimsby, then it was Newport, where he didn't really get going with just one appearance, and now he is with us. This might be a little case of last chance saloon for Owen Windsor, and again, like I've already said about another player in this sort of transfer news that we're doing, it's the potential for us to reap the rewards of a player in the last chance saloon of being able to push forward in a professional football career. And I'm obviously thinking that he's going to be wanting to do that. In terms of goal scoring prowess, it's never really happened for him. Even in non-league, he wasn't prolific. 6 goals and 17, if from what I can see from his record. But I don't know what it is that catches the eye. Maybe he's got blistering pace. Maybe he's strong. We'll just have to wait and see. There's not a lot about him because he hasn't played a lot of professional football.
Yeah. It's possible these players aren't our first choice.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about like what catches the eye about them. It's possible that nothing specifically has caught the eye, but they're the next best players after we've been knocked back by other players.
See, this one to me, though, Owen Windsor, because like I said, we're doing this in order as the way that the transfers came in, was a case of, right, if the next person we're going to talk about, is Dennis.
Yeah.
Is, if they weren't sure that he was going to sign, then this was an option. And this was kind of like, right, they sign him now or you don't sign him now. So they said, right, we'll have him now. And then an hour later, Dennis turns around and says, I'll sign. I don't know if that's
possible,
the case, obviously.
I mean, it's possible, yeah. The order that they came in isn't necessarily the order that we knew we were getting them.
No, that's true. That's true. But yeah, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. So it's an interesting one. I just don't think there's not enough room in the team for all of these new attackers to play. Yeah. And then, you know, you've got Patrick Fishburn, Alessandra,
Mampala, is Mampala injured?
No, Mampala left today.
Did he?
Yeah, Mampala's gone on loan to Weymouth Conference, bottom three. Mampala's just gone out on loan.
Yeah,
it is the conference though, so it's not a terrible standard. But yeah, he's left today. He's headed out on loan today. But yeah, not a lot you can really say about this lad. Like I said, came from non-league, got signed by West Bromwich Albion, has since been sort of given away on loan, never really scored never really scored at all in professional football, unfortunately. So there it is, mate. There it is. It's there's a possibility that we might have just pulled the trigger a bit too soon on this lad, because the person you're about to talk about next has a bit more about him, doesn't he?
Of the players that we've signed, he's the one that seems most likely to be, well, yeah, the only one that seems especially likely to be the goal scorer. He's the only one with a decent goal scoring record at times in his career. So, like,
this is
Christian
Dennis, yeah,
Christian Dennis, and he's 31, and we signed him following his release from St Mirren. But he had in League One and scored goals in League One, but just different times of his career. So, like, he only scored 3 goals in 30 appearances for St Mirren. At Notts County, he scored 16 goals in 54 appearances, and that was Notts County in League Two. And then he had a spell where he scored 27 in 78 appearances for Chesterfield between 2016 and 2018. So he actually started off in League One with Chesterfield, scored 10 goals in 42 appearances in League One. Then they got relegated. But he scored 21 goals in 48 appearances in the 2017-28 season, which saw Chesterfield get relegated again. So, you know, he was kind of like, I think, the bright spark for them in that season. He's got a bit of a tendency to get relegated from League Two. I think he's been relegated from League Two 3 times with Grimsby, Notts County and Chesterfield.
So not a great omen, but on the flip side, probably the most exciting transfer that we made in terms of goal scoring.
Yeah, so like, didn't work out for him at Grimsby, didn't work out for him at St Mirren, but reasonable stats in League Two and even League One with Chesterfield, Notts County. Prior to that, he's like in and out of. Well, prior to that, he was mostly in non-league. He did play in League Two a little bit for Macclesfield, but they kind of. He scored quite a lot of goals in non-league as well. I mean, at one point, it was at Curzon Ashton in Conference North. Was it Conference North? No, it was in Northern Premier League, Division 1 North, so a bit below. But he scored for them. Curzon Ashton, 72 goals in 82 appearances. So at that level, which at least means that he knows how to score. You know,
I mean, and he's also got goals in the bag at this level and at a higher level than this as well. So, like, it's not like he's been playing reserve team or Premier League 2, like they like to call it now, team football for the last like 2 years since he's been 18, 19, and then gone out on a couple of loans that haven't really worked out for him. And yeah, he knows what it's about to get into a changing room at this level, at this standard of football. And I think, I don't know why, but I feel like he's a player that Millen will know a lot about because he's been in the game for a bit longer, and he seems like the sort of player that Millen might gravitate towards. But the proof shall be in the pudding.
Yeah, I mean, given our difficulty with scoring goals, I would be quite happy for him to be able to replicate what he did at Chesterfield here, apart from the going down bit. But a goal almost every 2 games. If he does that, then probably help us out a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we can only hope, mate. We can only hope, and most of our eggs are going into this particular basket, I feel like. I'll put you on the spot, mate, just very quickly. If you're going to pair him with somebody that we have on the books, who would you pair him with to play up front? Because we've been playing a lot of 4-4-2, haven't we?
Yeah. I would maybe pair him with Amari Patrick.
Mm. Okay,
So,
okay. So you're expecting Dennis to be this sort of like the real estate sort
Play-
of the classic 31-year-old League Two kind of player, not necessarily a lot of running, but popping up in the right position and being a dead-eye goal scorer kind of striker.
yeah, I've heard rumours that that's his style. That's kind of what he does. That he's just the kind of gets on the end of things. Gary Caldwell, who was his manager at Chesterfield, described him as first and foremost a team player in terms of his work rate, running after lost causes, shutting people down, and working for the team. So that's positive. Positive about him.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good as well. The Carlisle United fans do appreciate that. A player like Alessandro is quite like that. He chases down the defenders if they try and play the ball around the back. So, yeah, I mean, that was one of the signings that really excited the fans in terms of goal scorers. But one of the signings that has been accused of being a crowd pleaser is the return of Jamie Devitt. That's right. Jamie Devitt is back at Brunton Park, this time only on a short-term 6-month deal. It was reported that he was coming on loan, but that's not the case. He has signed.
Yeah, how the club got that wrong, I don't know.
I don't know. I think they just there was that much going on. They just panicked.
Yeah,
there was just they've never had to do that much typing in the 3-hour period before.
I mean, the media. I mean, the media people will be getting the news relayed to them from like the likes of David Holsworth. So it seems like something got lost in translation there.
Jamie Devitt, obviously, last time he was with Carlisle, stayed with us for 3 seasons, I believe, making over 110 appearances, scoring 21 goals. Is the Irishman in the midfield, a player that hasn't really had much of a career since leaving Carlisle, unfortunately. Things didn't work out for him when he left Carlisle for Blackpool. And then he since went on to have a couple of loan spells with Bradford City and Newport County before. Obviously, everybody knows him signing for Barrow, where he's only scored the 1 goal in the year and a half that he's been with Barrow. So it hasn't exactly worked out for him over there. They brought him back. Like I said, he's been accused of being a crowd-pleasing signing. Jamie Devitt, back at Brunton Park.
Mm-hmm.
You liking it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, so his career's hit the skids mainly through injury and, the age that he's at now as well. He's gonna, he's not getting better year on year. It's up to him. I assume he's still got the skills. It's just not the fitness, and he gets the running team. I could see him doing well. Even if he has got problems with injury, only manages to play, have 1 run of games or something. But if he's still got those, if he's still got that that delivery, and if Christian Dennis is the sort of player who can thrive off that sort of delivery, it's potential to be a decent signing. I totally understand what it looks like, but and the fact that his career, the way it's gone, I wouldn't get too excited about it. But I won't be too down about it either.
Yeah, I feel like it's not a bad option. The midfield needed another option, and so this signing does make sense. It'll be interesting to see if he's in shape to hit the ground running, or if it's going to take a little while for us to start seeing him at what is now his best, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that we've got more options in the midfield. Maybe somebody that can give Callum Guy a bit of a rest because he's played a lot of football this year. Obviously, people want Riley to get back into the team. Riley and Devitt might be an interesting pairing in the midfield. But like I said, we've made a lot of signings in this window, and we've only let a few people go. We've already mentioned that Mpala has gone out on loan until the end of the season. It hasn't really worked out for him, mate. Neither manager, Chris Beach or Millen, have really backed him, and he's just fell by the wayside a little bit unfairly, I feel like. When he's had his opportunities, he has done quite well for Carlisle. He's got a couple of goals in the Cups when he's made his appearances, and he's got that ability that he can sort of pull a goal out of anywhere. But we just haven't been able to see it. He had a good pre-season, but that's it. Pack your bags, you're going on loan, and you're going to go and scrap it out in the conference in a relegation battle. What didn't work out for him, mate?
He had a bit of an injury. He's a young player, brought in by Chris Beach, and then Beach has got sacked and Millen's come in. He had a bit of an injury as well, so you can kind of understand why he's not got his chance. The chances that he did get were limited, and okay, so he didn't kind of do a lot in those chances, but what are you going to do with that level of chances? But injury, being a player that was on the fringes of the squad and brought in by the previous manager, you can kind of like see Millen's kind of probably got quite a lot in that sort of position now, on the wings with Patrick, now show Silva. If he continues to play Alessandra there, or I don't know if he does, with Dickinson, and also, is probably still yet to have a look at Toure, but Jimmy Toure's in the building, so Keith Millen probably feels that he's got enough wingers.
Yeah. He's obviously going to have to make some room because he's brought in this many attacking options, and another attacker that has left Brunton Park, not just on loan, but has left Brunton Park, is Chris Beach's big summer signing, Zach Clough. Zach Clough's gone, mate. Disappointed, to say the least. I feel like he did have something in him, especially during pre-season. It looked good, but maybe when he got on that big windy pitch and the weather started getting cold and the tackles were flying in, and he kept on picking up little knocks here and there, and it just didn't work out for him, mate. And he's disappearing over to Australia to go and play for Adelaide United in the A-League. Yeah. So, I feel like this is a footballer that just wants to go and enjoy his football.
Yeah, I think so, maybe. It's like when Macaulay Gillespie went over to Australia. You kind of felt that he could have fought for his career here, but it's an attractive proposition. I think you get decent money over there. The weather's really nice, so fair play to him and all that. I was disappointed myself because even now I was kind of still thinking that there's something about him that if he can just show it, that he still looked like potentially a very good player at times.
Yeah. I felt like he really had something in the locker. I felt like he just couldn't get going, and I don't know if that was in his head, maybe. And then I think we've speculated on maybe he was promised, because he was given the number 10. Maybe he was promised to play in an attacking role, and when he was asked to sort of like play out wide or in the midfield, even he just kind of went missing, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't think that's really his position, and. To be fair, the way we were playing at the start of the season under Beach didn't really suit him at all. And maybe it was, the reasons that we've talked about why beach ball stopped working, because we were lacking the players such as Coyote and Patrick. That's all like players who could like hold the ball up in the wings and stuff. Maybe kind of like that's what Beach was thinking about when he brought him in, and if that's well thrived. We saw enough like little flashes of brilliance from him to even still be hoping that, if he's still around next season, maybe Keith Millen can get a tune out of him once he's built his own squad. Maybe he'd be part of that. But he's probably taken quite a lot of wages off the books by going to Australia, and that's probably a factor in the late flurry of signings, as well as what I mentioned before about having to wait till the end of the window.
Yeah, it apparently came as a shock to Keith Millen. A lot of the language around the conversation of the move being Millen basically saying that he doesn't want to stand in anyone's way, and that this is a great opportunity, or that Clough feels like this is a great opportunity. To have a new adventure and take his football career in a different direction.
He will do. I mean, he's probably going to be disappointed with his career has gone. The amount of promise he showed at the start of his career when he signed for Forest. Was it Forest that he played for? Yeah. I think they paid $3 million for him.
Off Bolton,
So like, his expectations of himself are probably a lot higher than the expectations that standard lower league footballers put upon themselves. Like, he's probably feeling that his career hasn't gone the way he wanted because he's in League Two. So, maybe he's just decided that I'm not going to get back up to the Championship, which is where I feel I could have been. I don't want to stick around League Two, so an alternative option is to go somewhere sunny where they play well, where you're playing a standard of football that is it's high by Australian standards, even though it's not high by UK standards. So you can go over there and people will be a lot kinder to you maybe, and you might go over there and be considered as one of the top players in the A-League. I don't know where Adelaide are, like whether they're considered a decent team. But I know, Macaulay,
the top three team.
Yeah, I mean, Macaulay Gillespie went over there, and he was playing. Was he playing Robbie Fowler's team or Michael Bridges? I think it was Robbie Fowler for a bit because Robbie Fowler was managing over there. So you go there and it's big names, big stadiums. You're competing at the top end of the national divisions. I can see the appeal of it, especially for like Zach Clough. He'd be expected to be playing in the Championship minimum.
Yeah, you got to think as well that the Australian season's just not that long either.
Yeah.
So like you work year, I mean, the amount of time off you get compared to the amount of time you have to play, it's just, there's a lot better balance. And they'll have a winter break as well over there in the A-League. Right, mate, well, we've had a good old transfer crack there. And like I said, I think that's going to be the majority of the episode, but we will touch on Carlisle United's games. First of all, we'll talk about Carlisle United's 2-0 defeat to Sutton United. And as I always do here on the Blue Army podcast, I'll give you the Carlisle United starting lineup for their 2-0 defeat against Sutton United. We had Mark Howard in goals, was Joel Senior at right back, Simiu, McDonald and Armour making up the rest of the defence, with Guy and Whelan in the centre of the midfield, with Patrick Mellish and Dickinson playing in the advanced roles and wide roles respectively, with Otomei playing up front on his own. So a slight change in formation there, something you might expect when you're playing against a high-scoring team, a team close to the top of the league, a team that have been on a very good run of form. So you can see the fact that Whelan coming back into the midfield is a good decision, but Simiu making his debut on this day didn't necessarily have a fantastic debut. Now, mate, have you got the highlights in front of you?
I haven't, no. I was there, but the goals were at the other end of the division. Sorry, the other end of the pitch. Okay, I'll bring the highlights up.
Yeah, if you skip just the 10 seconds in, you'll see the first goal there. The ball comes in from the Sutton United, and it's headed straight from Simiyu right into the attacker. Now, Simiyu should header that high and wide, but he doesn't. He heads it straight into an attacker. Now, is that maybe just a lack of concentration, a lack of knowing where players are on the pitch? I mean, it's a rookie mistake when you're a defender to head the ball low. You don't do that. You head the ball high and clear it. That's what you do as a defender. You get under the ball. And I don't think the ball was whipped in with that much pace. That he couldn't have done that.
Have a look.
All right, you have a look.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean.
See, he's got enough time to jump and really get underneath that ball, really get it wide, and he doesn't. And he makes a hound of it. It's like a 50p piece Sunday League sort of clearance. Now we'll cycle through the rest of these highlights as Jack Armour hit the bar there from a Mari Patrick cross, I believe, because there was an early substitution in this game. And then, see, there's the second goal there, mate. Second goal starts, just goes like 40 seconds in. So Simiyu gets dragged out of position by the 1-2 play to begin with, and then leaves that man to pick up another man and doesn't stick a foot in when he should stick a foot in. Do you know what I mean? He's too late making that tackle. That tackle should have been made about 3 steps before it was made. It's just poor technique in the approach play there. So he kind of doesn't pick up one man. He leaves him, and then he picks up the other attacker, which he kind of has to be fair.
What McDonald's doing though?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there.
I mean, I was just watching.
He's the wrong side of his man.
Yeah, because I agree with you on Simiyu for the first goal. The second goal, it looks like, Simiyu's already got someone,
but that's not his. That's obviously not his man. Do you know what I mean? But why? And if it is his man, then why is he leaving him? But
McDonald's
the wrong side of the attacker, and there's chances for both of them to have done something there, but the blame does lie with Simiyu and McDonald. So you can kind of say both goals there is a fault at Simiyu's door for both the goals, and it was a bit of a difficult day out for him, a bit of a difficult debut. Clough actually came on in this game towards the end. Mate, what? I don't want to be too harsh. I really don't want to be too harsh on Carlisle United at the moment. Sutton United are a really good team, but it's a lot of people kind of got the backs up with this result, and I did do a statement on Facebook to try and get like a little bit of like a fan reaction and see what people were reacting like towards the result. But I also wanted to get my opinion across in there as well. And what my opinion basically was, and eventually when this bloody internet works, I'll read it out to you. For some reason it's not letting me in yet. Is it sounding all right, or does the internet just keep fucking up all the time?
Yeah, sounds all right. I mean, the internet's not fucked up for a few minutes, and there's not been an issue with the sound.
Yeah. It's been a bit up and down. I don't think it's anything like crazy that I won't be able to edit, but it's been, I think just because of the sheer amount of tabs that I've got open, it's just been making my internet really laggy. So the comment that I made was Sutton are flying this year. Forest Green Rovers are running away with the league after only recently pulling ourselves out of the bottom 3. Are some fans overreacting to the last 2 results, or are the wheels coming off Millen's wagon already? And mate, you even put a comment in here, and obviously you can put your 2 cents in and tell us what you thought about Carlisle United's results in just a second. But firstly, Phil Rickaby had this to say. It says, "Looks like it to me. How far United have declined over the years, and it looks as if it's going to continue. Sorry to stay, but big changes needed badly." I think that's a bit of a typical Carlisle United fan stance at the moment, mate. There's a lot of the fan base feeling like that. So I can definitely see where Phil's coming from, although he's obviously got wider concerns than just the current results and how football's being played.
People will view the way we've been this season in terms of the overall decline that's been going on for about 15 years or something. And I think to a lot of people, relegation, unless there is change, feels like something of an inevitability. Whether it happens this season, I don't know, but the area with their friends.
Yeah. Scott Montgomery has a bit more of a tactical comment. He says, wins against the bottom 7 or 8 teams and nicking points off the rest. That's the situation we're in. People will think this is a negative comment, but that's what the situation we are in at the moment means we need to do. Stay up and then try and rebuild next season. I feel like that's been the way we've had to sort of go at things for a couple of seasons, to be honest, mate. Is sort of like, we'll rebuild for another promotion campaign, we'll rebuild for another playoff campaign, we'll rebuild for another chance to get into the playoffs. It's just rinse and repeat, but hopefully one day it'll come off. And Keith Ward had this to say. He said, Forest Green Rovers tore Tranmere a new one and they are second, and Sutton are on a roll like we were coming up as have others. The next couple of weeks will say more, to be honest. So obviously Keith's saying that the next couple of fixtures are going to really truly reflect what Millen's impact at the club is going to have in terms of
This is
us
before
achieving...
Salford game.
Yeah, this is before the Salford game. In terms of achieving more wins this season. Mate, like you said, you were at the game. What was your reaction to the performance?
I think, although, as people have said, you can consider Sutton are a good team. I think we are, it seems, actually getting worse through this little spell. We've got a good few wins and a few draws, had a bit of an unbeaten run. But, the last now 3 defeats we're talking about have all been really poor, even if you do take into account the fact that Forest Green has excellent defence and they put past us. There was just a kind of really a lack of anything from us. We're not creating things anymore, which is a worry because we've brought in strikers because we're creating chances, but we don't have anyone to put them away. What we don't want is to have strikers who can put it away, and then we've stopped creating, so that they're now living off scraps. The kind of the thing that you've got to kind of consider as well is that gap between us and the bottom 2, it's not really getting any smaller. It's still 8, so not like Scunthorpe and Oldham showing much sign of going on a big run. Colchester are. They've had some decent results. Had some decent results in God's swings and roundabouts. Maybe this is Colchester's little decent run. A Barrow got a win. So there are other teams that are in and around with us and potentially overhauling us. I still feel that we can probably do enough this season, given the size of the gap to the relegation zone and how little we've had. I mean, the 2 teams in the relegation zone, their fans, according to them, have had terrible transfer windows. Scunthorpe fans saying that the only thing that's happened to them in the transfer window is that their best player is left, and then that's it. So Oldham are under an embargo and can't really do much. So I think there's a decent chance still that will be saved by that. And then it's as your man says, we build for next season again.
Yeah, that's it, man. Another season of rebuilding for next season. I don't think we're going to do a Foxes feature man of the match this week, mate. I think this is going to be the week that we maybe break. Maybe we'll do one for the Salford game. Maybe I'll feel in better spirits once we've gone through the Salford game. At least we've got a nice goal to talk about anyway. But for Sutton, I was going to give it to Patrick if he'd asked me about the Sutton one. Oh, you said it
because
now.
of all the players that did play. Yeah, of all the players that did play against Sutton, he was, he was the one who was I thought he played all right. It was positive things with the ball when he got the ball. It's just that nobody else around him was. But, you know, I don't feel that I could criticise Patrick's performance against Sutton as much as anyone else, really.
There you go. You're back.
Hello.
All right, recording's back on. The recording's back on. I think it just finished when you finished your sentence about Patrick, so that should sync up quite nicely. I think that'll be all right. I think that'll be all right. But yeah, we'll move on to talk about the Salford game, mate. Not much better in terms of performance or result. But obviously, like you've just said there about Omari Patrick being the standout player against Sutton, probably again the standout player against Salford City. But first, I'll give you the starting lineup for the game. Millen did change a couple of things. Obviously, felt the same as you and wanted to change a couple of things. So there was more creativity about the team. Howard in goal again. Senior, Simeon, McDonald, and Armour across the back line unchanged. But with Gibson, Guy, Mellish, and Dickinson across the midfield. So the midfield with lots of changes there, with Alessandra coming back to make his first start in a while, and Patrick up front as well. Mate, it's a positive changes. It looks like a better lineup. Obviously, Salford game. Salford aren't a high-flying team. You would have hoped for us to get a result. It's Tuesday night. It's under the lights. It's not too far to travel. It is a little bit of a disappointing result, and the fact that Carlisle didn't necessarily play very well does sort of add insult to injury, as it were. The first goal was a penalty given against, I think, John Mellish for handball. It's one of those ones where technically you just have to give it.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of watched it to see if there was any particular thing we could bring out as bad defending, or if it was just a bit of bad luck. I think there's an element of bad luck in that. I mean, it looked like it was one-way traffic up to that point anyway. It was coming at us, and I mean, you know, YouTube, is his arm in a position where you could blame him for it? I don't know. Even if it is just one player's mistake, it's just one of them things, isn't it?
Sometimes
mate. The ball will hit a player's arm.
That's it. I think that's what I'm thinking. It's just one of those ones where the referee has to give it because technically it's infringed play. It wasn't all doom and gloom for Carlisle, though. Carlisle did respond. A nice bit of approach play. Gibson crossing the ball nice and low into the 6-yard box for Omari Patrick to show some really good composure and took the ball away. I feel like it's more of the same, mate. Omari Patrick just enjoying playing for Carlisle United, and I feel like he's a player that wants the fans behind him, enjoys having the fans behind him, and he's playing for the club. He's playing for the team. What do you think about Omari Patrick's recent performances?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems to be the one. He's come back, came off the bench a couple of times. It's been good. Like I say, you know, if I had to give anyone it against Sutton, it'd be Omari Patrick, and then he's scored against with the help of Jordan Gibson, who's another player who been a bit quieter the last couple of weeks, but you know, been one of the bright sparks of our season.
Is Jordan Gibson one of those players that, because he's so good when he is good, you just have to start him? You just have to start him. Because if he's not playing that good, you can take him off after like 55 minutes or 35 minutes and change the game plan or whatever you want. But on his day, is it always worth just giving him a nod? Like Francois Oko was back in the day.
Yeah, I think you give players like that a bit more leeway. Obviously, there's a point where if they're putting some really bad performances, you can't continue with them. But especially kind of like forward players who might just not really be in a game because it's not necessarily always their fault. The ball might just not be coming up to them. So I think, Jordan Gibson at the moment still a player that I would definitely just have in the starting lineup because you know that he can do something.
Yeah, same. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'll just have him in the starting lineup.
I always hope that about Clough.
Yeah, Yeah. Up to a certain point. But Clough looked fucking miserable towards the end. And then obviously there was that little concussion incident that happened, and then the injuries that followed. And obviously, I think his head just went. And when the opportunity to play in the sunshine came along, bye. And I don't necessarily begrudge him for it. But at the same time, I really would have liked to have seen him take Carlisle into the playoffs with a lot of goals this season, but that wasn't to be. Carlisle responded quite well there with their goal, but it wasn't to be for Carlisle in the end. Salford, I'm not impressed, mate. I'm not impressed. Simiu lets his man go. But Salford with a little bit of approach play. Carlisle just quite happy to let them have it. Lots of men behind the ball. They work it out wide. The cross comes in. It's not a fantastic cross, but the attacker gets in front of Simiu. Simiu's behind his man. And it's a weak header as well, which is a little bit annoying, that it's got enough to go past Howard. Obviously, when something's placed very well, it's difficult to judge that kind of thing. But it's a frustrating goal, and it's Simiu letting his man go again. So is that a lack of communication, or is it just is it good from the attacker, or is Simiu's his body language is all wrong after the goal. He's shrugging his shoulders, and he looks like he's blaming Mark Howard, actually, which isn't a smart move for a 20-year.
Someone else.
Yeah, he does look like he's blaming somebody else, which I don't think when you've got a 36-year-old goalkeeper in goal who's having a good season and a young centre-half who's on loan and hasn't really looked like a good signing so far. Not a smart move to be making, taking chunks out of the goalkeeping fan favourite. By the young centre-back. We'll see if Simiu's run of appearances in the starting lineup continues on the weekends. But a player whose run of starts did stop was Otomei. Probably about time. Alessandra was looking good when he was coming off the bench. Obviously, he scored that goal recently. Patrick, the shining light in the Sutton United game. So you're probably right thinking that Otomei was the player to be sacrificed. Didn't make his way off the bench. And now, with all of these new attackers coming in, it's going to be hard for him to find a place in the jumble. I think it's hard for anyone, really, to find a place in the starting lineup in terms of attacking choices.
Keith Millen's shown some faith in him, so I think he'll still compete.
Yeah, do you know who I'm worried about, mate? You probably guessed. Fishburn.
Yeah.
He should have got him out on loan. If you know what I mean. I hope he's going to play if he hasn't bothered to get him out on loan. But
yeah.
There's some of the lads have gone on loan to some conference teams. You probably could have got Fishburn out to a conference team on loan. I would like to have seen. I don't want to see him off the bench and on the bench and off the bench and on the bench, sort of and never starting a game, and sometimes never coming off the bench, and sometimes just never being on the bench. That'll be a quick spiral, and I wouldn't want to see that happen to the young man. But that's football, mate. That's football. And I reckon that's a good place to leave it before we go too far ahead of things. Thank you very much for joining me this week, Wills. This has been...
You're welcome.
This has been episode 53 of the Blue Army podcast. Thank you all very much for listening. And that's enough from us this week. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye for now.